I'm Joshua. I'm a Bangalore-based writer and poet. Um, I've lived in Bangalore since the age of 3.5, so I guess that makes me Bangalorean. Or I don't know any other Indian city better, or I don't know my father's land, which is Nigeria, any better. Uh, I speak a little Kannada. I mean, I learned Kannada as second language in high school, so I even know a Kannada poem.
Can you recite?
Mm. I know one para of it. It's Odi Odakanagu, Khadi Odaneyagu, Kanika Vanikanahagu, Yenadre Sariye, Modulu Manavanagu. So, so I learned I know Kannada that way, but all the Kannada I know is auto driver Kannada, as I call it. I only know how to give instruction and directions in Kannada. I don't know, I can't read Kannada, I don't understand, I don't think I grasp Kannada literature, but I use Kannada as a language of moving around the city. Uh, I lived in two places as of now. I mean, I've lived most across the city actually, because uh, yeah, being a queer person growing up in Bangalore, you just lived in many people's houses, I guess. So I lived in many houses. The two major, the three main localities of my life, I guess, would be Whitefield, Richmond Town, and Cooktown. What are the landmarks? The landmark in Cooktown is Basha's, which is a supermarket. The landmark in Richmond Town would be Johnson Market, which is a market area. And the landmark of Whitefield would be, as when I was growing up, at least it was the park in Inner Circle. I don't know if it still exists the same anymore. I miss the fact that I knew everybody, which I think I now know everyone who is Bangalorean. I feel like that's my definition of who is Bangalorean, is do I know them or do I not know them. So that's what I miss about Bangalore. I miss the fact that there was a time in Bangalore when you just knew everyone. Also, I think it was a much simpler city in terms of like aspirationally you were allowed to aspire to be anything that you wanted to be, and I think that's changed a lot in the Bangalore that I live in now, where even to live the basic life I lead is now super expensive as compared to before. Yeah, I think like a friend of mine used to make a joke that we should have a non-IT card, that people who don't work in the information technology industry and the people who don't work in startups should get a card, and then we can all get discounts across the city. And I think that speaks to the big schism in Bangalore right now, the fact that a different Bangalore, I grew up in a much different Bangalore, but Bangalore that was much slower, I think. I mean, it's still slow, but a much slower Bangalore. Bangalore that was a thinking Bangalore rather than a saying Bangalore. I don't know what I mean by that, but I feel like people were more thoughtful then in some way than they are now, where people are more clear about what they like or don't like. But I also think that's a universal trend and not just a Bangalore trend. I think in Bangalore, to come back to this language question, which I've suddenly remembered and find interesting. As in, for the longest time, in growing up in Bangalore, you didn't have to know Kannada actually. You had to know Tamil because that was the language of service. You had to know Telugu because that was the language of commerce, and you had to know Hindi because that's what most people spoke. And not Hindi as in Punjabi Hindi, but Hindi as in Urdu-fied, like local Hindi, where you just also added English words or Kannada words into the mix. And so I think that was what was spoken in Bangalore a lot. We didn't hear Hindi in the violent way that we hear Hindi now, according to me, where we hear Hindi everywhere. But yeah, so I didn't grow up speaking Kannada. It was a school language, it was a language that I had to pass an exam in. I speak Kannada much more now because I have to interact, and because I'm a journalist, I also meet people, and therefore Kannada has to be a spoken language. But I remember Bangalore being a language a place where language wasn't important. It was I mean, everyone spoke at least 5 languages, however broken or not broken, because you'd have to communicate with a whole range of people, like, in the sense that you met diverse people. So like you had relationships with your maid. It's not like they were service, but like, people had my grandparents have had the same maid now for like 35 years or something like that. People had really long-term investments in their sort of peripheral relationships, and so they were able to. So you spoke all these languages, whatever you spoke. You might not be able to express your feelings in them, but you spoke them. And I think right now people don't speak languages because language is a function of communication, and people don't communicate with people who don't look like them. And I think in the old Bangalore you met more people who didn't look like you every day than you do now, which is sad. Maybe that's also what I miss about Bangalore in the past. I don't think I have a favorite eatery in the city, but that's because Bangalore has always been this place where everyone is always trying to trump everyone and finding the best thing, and that's what also I miss about Bangalore, because now the best thing is really equated to something that's in Indiranagar or Kormangala, that's posh or has AC or some simplistic nonsense. But before, you would have to hunt and go to this far out place to find something that was exciting, and it wasn't like it was clean or things like that. But Bangalore has quirky eateries. For example, one of my favorite quirky eateries is this place at Siddhapa's. I think now his son runs it, and he's not there anymore. But this old man used to be like a dosa Nazi. He'd basically look at you and decide how much you eat, and then would put it in your plate, and you had to finish it. And that's how I think of Bangalore, in this strange way where people took ownership of you in this odd way. Like if you went to eat biryani in the city market area, they sort of served it to you with their hand, and they sort of made a decision that no, you can't eat more than this. And it was always, and I remember this because it was always a fight for me to say no, I can eat more, because my friends would of course be larger, bigger, bulkier straight men, and everyone would be like, oh, of course he can eat much more, and would serve him more, and then I was keeping up with them. So I think that's what I like about Bangalore eateries, that you always knew the owner, or you had some interaction with the owner in some way, or some peripheral interaction. I remember once I went to some place and we ate, basically they were so impressed with the way we ate the Andhra meals that the owner came to say hello to us, I miss things like that about Bangalore. And that I think is the eateries in Bangalore remind me of that, where you know people behind the counter, and you know the cashier, you know everybody in some sense. So, what is your daily routine? If I'm a good Bangalorean, I don't move more than 100 meters from my house on a daily routine. Every travel in my life is a marked event. Which is it's like, oh my god, I have to travel, which I'm going to have to mentally prepare for. No, I don't use Google Maps, I hate it. Even if I'm lost, I'd rather ask someone for directions or name a place. I feel like Google Maps makes you competitive, in the sense that you always want to beat the Google time of how fast you will get to a place. And I'm not interested in going anywhere that fast. And so I'm okay with being slightly late. So my daily routine is nothing. I basically, pre-pandemic, I guess one has to speak of these things like that, is I would get out every evening, and I go to 3-4 places in the city. I basically go to Airlines, Koshi, and anything around it. And so, so I don't use much travel. The way you travel in Bangalore for me as an old Bangalorean, or someone who's lived here most of his life, is you travel to people's houses. So that's how I've seen most of the city, is I've gone to people's houses to visit them, and that's how I even encountered places, or I've taken the effort to travel to eat something that someone said is good. And so, but I don't have a daily routine actually. My idea, I have phases. Daily phases, in some sense. Maybe a week I won't step out of the house, and then 1 week I won't even be home for 5 minutes, but it's not a routine. No, I hate the metro. It has not changed my life. I might be the only person who says this, but I don't like the metro. I think it's actually like, especially for people like me who are queer and who present in certain kinds of ways. These sort of like public transit spaces seem very panopticon, as Foucault would say, where you can be constantly watched from all sides. And so I feel like I don't like to put myself in museum settings, and so I avoid the metro as much as possible. Also, it makes no sense if you live in old Bangalore, which for me is like not Koramangala, not Sajapur, not HSR, not so many things, then the metro makes no sense because it doesn't pass anywhere we live. Like if you live in Richmond Town, if you live in Cooktown, if you live in Benson Town. And I think they're making efforts now for the metro to come more to these neighborhoods. But like till now, it made no sense to me because if I want to take a metro to Jayanagar, I have to take an auto to MG Road, which is like $60. Then if 3 friends are going by the metro, then that's another, let's say 90 rupees. That's 90 plus 60, that's 150 rupees. You might as well take an auto. And you can smoke the whole way. So, I mean, yeah, so no, I didn't like the metro. I also thought the metro ruined design and architecture. For example, I wouldn't mind if the metro stayed brutalist, if the pillars were just like plain and cement and we could all just encounter this ugly structure in our lives and have to deal with it. But the fact that now everyone's painting the flyover, the metro, or these violent things, I can't stand. I mean, I want to see them as violent, brutal interruptions into my city. I don't want them to merge into my city. So, I mean, I hate all that it's done. I also think that it's another factor, and like the metro is another symbol for downfall for me, or this aspiration for big cityness, which for me is problematic. Like, I associate the city with smells like jasmine and attar, like because like I think the neighborhoods I lived in, or like the women that worked in my house, always wore jasmine in their hair, and like since you always take autos and you always, I mean like in the old Bangalore, there was a real clear, I don't know if one's allowed to talk like this anymore, but you can edit it out. There was a clear like system of who was the auto driver. Like you didn't have, like this fact that now we have this Kannada right-wingism around language is because basically Kannada people dropped from certain kinds of jobs and had to take certain kinds of jobs, because like in the old Bangalore, all your auto drivers were either Tamil or Muslim. There were no Kannada auto drivers, so you never had to talk Kannada. And so the Tamil auto always smelled of like agarbatti or some such like smell, and the Muslim auto driver always smelled of attar because that's what they wear. And so for me, that's a huge smell of Bangalore that's also disappeared, in the sense that now Bangalore smells of sweat. But like it's also the exchange of who is in certain kinds of services. And for me, like I feel like a lot of Kannada rage comes from that. A lot of Kannada right wing and Kannada chauvinism and all that comes from the fact that like Kannadigas used to hold a certain kind of like government jobs and certain kinds of positions, and so therefore they weren't in the service sector at all. So you didn't have to talk Kannada at all in Bangalore before, because you didn't interact with them unless you went to a government office. You didn't meet a Kannadiga. So you didn't have to speak Kannada, and so you always knew that in a government office anyway you have to speak the state official language, so you spoke Kannada. So I mean, so that idea was never problematic in some way, but I think that sort of change is also meant to change in smell in Bangalore, because you don't meet Muslim men in a very particular kind of way. They're very ghettoized, right? It's reduced. And also I think like people are very smell conscious in a very particular kind of way now, which is actually very annoying. Like a lot of my friends will say things like, "Oh my God, your attar is very heavy smelling," right? But the point in some sense is so is their perfume. But it's like, it's Hugo Boss, so it's okay. So in some sense, they're critiquing a sort of class comment, or it's a smell that they haven't encountered, I think. And I think a lot of that has to do with who you meet. And I think for me right now, Bangalore smells of like starched clothes and all that, because that's who you meet. You meet people who yeah, I don't think Bangalore has a particular smell now, but I think it used to smell of a certain, like, it used to smell of perfumed people. Perhaps that's the more response in some way, but you don't meet people now, right? Like, there's also like in cabs, there's a distance between you and the driver. There's all these strange functionings of how things move around in the city. Any material you associate with the city? I'm not sure it's a city, but it's maybe the people I grew up around. But I associate, like, what I wear is what I associate with the city in terms of like a sense of informal comfort, but like I have a sense of like Bangalore being a very uniform city in terms of like people wear exactly the same thing in different colors or different fabric, but the same thing. Like, it seems like I feel like all my friends have got a look when they were like, they experimented in their teen years, and around 25 we all just fixed on exactly what we're going to wear till we're 100 or something like that. And I think for me that's, I see it from around the people around me. So I don't know if it's a material per se, but it's a sense of like very easiness. Like, every time I feel like I go to Bombay or Delhi, I feel I have to dress up if I'm going to someone's house to eat dinner or things like that. And it's not like I don't feel like I dress up. I feel I dress up every day, but like you have to do something else there. But I think like in Bangalore, like everyone looks like, and also there's a single purpose outfit in Bangalore. It's like you dress the same from day to night. Like, in the sense that if you are going to an office and if you're going to go partying later, it's not like you change. Like, that for me is I don't know if it's a material association, but it's that sort of, so maybe if I think of it like that, then I associate, like, personally I will associate cotton and things like that with ease. So I think like Bangalore, I guess, wore a lot of cotton, but I'm not sure. But I also think like, I didn't know people, like, like I find it really stupid now when I think about my youth. But like, I wanted to go out and shop and go to shops and buy stuff, but like I was getting tailor-made clothes, and like even if I wanted to wear a pair of shorts, it's being tailor-made, like, it was being measured, made to measure and things like that. But like I was like, no, I'm gonna like go to like, I guess Weekend was the thing when I was growing up, close. But like I wanted to go to Weekend or something like that. But yeah, I think for me, Bangalore is like a very bespoke city, like in that way. Like I think of it, or I think of the South a lot like that in some way. Like I think of it as a very, like people got things tailor-made to fit them in a very particular way, and or they had uniforms. And I don't mean like it wasn't the like, and I don't mean like I wear this like everyone, like I wear the same thing. Essentially, meaning I wear a top and I wear like a yardage at the bottom, or a lungi or a sarong or something. But I mean, it's the same thing, but it's not the same thing. But there's that effort of uniformity in Bangalore, which I think I associate with the city. I don't know why though, but I don't see it anywhere else. I see certain people do it in other cities, where it then becomes a look or a thing. But I feel like in Bangalore, it's not a look or a thing. It's just like like my grandfather would wear a white shirt and a white lungi like every day, right? And it was a different white shirt and a different white lungi, but it was like he didn't think he was wearing the same thing every day. Like, it was not that. It was like some detail of it was different. Like maybe he'd wear a different watch with it, or a different pair of slippers, or like put something else with it, or something like that. I think it was about like combining things and accessorizing and things like that. But yeah, how do you envision the future of the city? I don't know which city you're talking about, because if it's a city I grew up in, then that city is already dead. There's no future to that city. But if you're talking about what it's becoming, then I think that perhaps people like me will have to take more ownership of the city for it to become something of some remnant of what it was. But that's never going to happen. That's the wonderful thing about Bangalore in some strange way, because Bangalore you never owned Bangalore. Like, you know, in terms of like, I don't know how to explain it. But you didn't build, like, you didn't own Bangalore. Like, you know, my grandfather lived here till he was 92, and he came to Bangalore when he was maybe like 15 or something in Kerala. He ran away from the world. But like till he died, he said, I'm from Ernakulam. And my grandmom till today says she's from Kalimpong. And I find my friends' parents still talk about their native village. Like they haven't gone back there in 100 years or I don't know, forever. But they still talk about it in terms of like, or I have a friend who keeps saying, my family's from Chitradurga. It's like, you know, and so Bangalore never belonged to anyone. So in terms of like, the idea that you're supposed to take ownership of it also feels very false. Like suddenly, like in terms of like, I always say, I'm from Bangalore and I know Bangalore the best. Like it's not like I know it any better than anybody else. It's just that I've been, like I'm deeply invested in the city in some way and want to know it more. But I don't see it as being, like it's not my city in the sense that I know Cantonment Bangalore really well, or I know some parts of non-Cantonment Bangalore well, but I don't know all of Bangalore, like I can't claim to as well. And so I don't know, so in terms of like, I think like if you envision a future of the city that I grew up in, then that city is already, there's no future in the sense that that city is already dead. I think if we have to envision a future of the city, then people like who have lived in Bangalore for really long have to take ownership of that city, and that idea is impossible because I don't think Bangalore allows you to own it in some strange way. Because no one was from here, like we're all immigrants in some way, or yeah, as in like no one, like among all my really good friends, if I say like I have 15 good friends, I know one person was born in a Bangalore hospital, which is like, you know, so how like he can point out the hospital he was born in. Yeah. No, so I don't know what the future, like yeah. Also, I don't care. Can I just be honest? In the sense that I think that one of the things about Bangalore people, quote unquote, is that they will always have a part of Bangalore. As in like till real estate, like every day some new old place that I went to is disappearing because of real estate in some way. But also then there's some newer place will come up that was also reminds me of that in some way, right? Like, or some place you didn't, like for example, we would all go to Chinlung, but I mean Chinlung looks like shit now, so, but then you're like, oh, but like you will say, okay, Sarathi Bar still looks the same in Atlanta, so then everyone is sort of gathered there till it lasts, right? We're always like, I think we're always going to a funeral in Bangalore, you know, like always everyone's going to a wake of something that's going to disappear, like you know it's going to go, like you have, like, it's going to go, like, we don't have like this idea of, oh, this is going to be a 200-year-old institution or something like that. We all think everything is going to go and you have to use it till it's gone. So you have to, like, for example, now everyone wants to go to Koshi's much more, everyone wants to go to Koshi's much more now because they think it's going to shut. Right? Like, so everyone will go there. And then Koshi's won't shut. Then Bangaloreans will stop going to Koshi's. Then all the people who heard Koshi's is an amazing place will go for the next 2 years, and that place will be alive. Then suddenly in 4 years, someone will say, oh shit, it's closing. Then all the Bangalore people will go again, you know? I think it's like because we don't own the city, we like certain things about the city. Like everyone hates traveling in Bangalore. Like, you hate it, like you don't want to step out of your house most times. So it's not like you are appreciating the city generally, or you know, you're not like, I don't know, you're not appreciating stuff around you, but you're very invested in places, in like singular places being there. And as long as they sort of look the same, and even if the surrounding has completely changed, as long as the one place looks the same, you sort of hold on to it. So like, for example, we get out of Koshi's and it's now like fully glass building kind of thing. But it'll go there and act like we're not looking at a glass building. I think that's, like, if you want to be a true Bangalorean, perhaps that's how you would envision the city. That there's an ability to not see something. You know? There's this amazing ability to just look at something and think, oh, before, what was here, like if you ask any Bangalorean what was here before, they have no idea, right? It's because we don't record things, we're not interested in holding on. It's not some owner, like that's what I mean, that's why Bangalore doesn't let you own it, because if you go to other cities, you know, people will say, this place was here, it used to stand here, or that place, but you know, we have no recollection of what anything is, right? Like, and in fact, it's why, like, for example, as a journalist who writes about the city, I can 20 years later still write about the city, because every day we figure, oh my god, this used to be here, or someone will remember it by mistake, or some half memory of it, and then you go investigate. But it's like no one actually remember, like you live very in the, I'm not going to finish this phrase, but you live in this time, you're very associated with this time. I don't think you, yeah, and I think like whatever, like for example, I remember 5 years ago we were all complaining about Indiranagar, right? Everybody was like, oh my god, worst place in the world, right? And now you'll see like the old Bangaloreans will say, okay, we like these 6 restaurants in Indiranagar. And we will go to them, like, we will not go to any other place on the way, we will just enter those places and we will leave, we will not engage with the city. But it's those sort of choices that Bangaloreans allow yourself to make, right? Like, it's a deeply... I think that, and actually the problem is that a lot of people have come from, like, this is not my immigrant problem because Bangalore is completely made of immigrants, but it's like, people have come from outside with some kind of expectation of what a city should be like. So, which is why, for example, people are like, oh my god, our Resident Welfare Association is not doing this. Right? But before, like, you would be like, who's the Resident Welfare Association? Right? Or like, it's a friend of mine. But it'll be like, who's the Resident Welfare Association? Or you'd be like, you don't know who's in charge of anything, right? Like, who's the corporator? Like, no one has any idea. Who's your MLA? Like, no clue. Right? I mean, it's because I don't know, I think we lived in a very global mindset in Bangalore before. Like, if you think about it, like, everyone just thought we were part of like some international conglomerate of solo cities. Like, you know, I think like growing up in Bangalore, I might have had more connection with someone who was sitting in California, growing up in Richmond Town, than I did with someone who lived in Jalandhar. And that was perfectly okay in Bangalore. And I think the idea now is that we're actually looking for a very uniform idea of a city, which is that we want 72 flyovers, 56 high-rises, you know, the metro running to every small suburb or whatever. It's an expectation of a city that I think is why you think of this, even this question, how do you envision? I mean, who cares? I mean, I don't. I'm going to live for like 10 more years or 20 more years and that's it. Burn the whole place down. I mean, let's start from scratch. I don't care. I'm not interested in what it will look like. I'm only interested in what it will look like while I'm around. And if the places the 6, 7 places I'm already filtered the whole city down to 6, 7 places. So if those 6, 7 places go, then maybe I have to find 6, 7 more places, like 6 other replacement places. But I'm not going to like find 20 places to go hang out with. I don't care. Like, you know, it's for. And I'm glad other people have options. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm really happy that everyone else who comes here can say, oh, Church Street has 43 restaurants and go to all of them. But I have not gone to any of those restaurants, and I'm okay with it also. Like, and I think the sad thing is that people like who are okay with not being part of these things isn't actually going to disappear more, which is actually for me Bangalore. Like, we didn't want to be always in the hip things, or like, you know, we always want to be like, you know, I'll give you an example of the city. In terms of like for me, growing up in the city was about how much did you buy that for? If someone said $100, you were like, I got it for 50. Right? That was Bangalore for me. But now you have to say, oh, I got it for 12,000. And then everyone's like, wow. Right? In Bangalore, it's like about how little money did you spend to have the best experience? Like, how did you shaft the system? Like, how did I circumvent or find a shortcut to something, to do something that was really valuable for me and no one else could get? Right? I think it was about always custom making your entire life plan. And I think right now you can't custom make your life. I think that's the problem with Bangalore. That it's very hard to customize your life and say, okay, I don't want to meet these people. And you could in Bangalore before. Like, if you lived in old Bangalore in, like, for example, say Chickpet and you were Marwari, you never met anyone. You might have thought that only Marwaris existed in Bangalore because that's all you hung out with, right? And that's perfectly okay for me. Like, and suddenly you meet one Marwari person who came to your school and suddenly you have a window because you're that kind of person into their lives or their culture. But it was okay that they didn't care about you. Like, they were happy that you came and like shopped at their shops and things like that, but they don't like care about you or anything. And I think that's fine with me. But I think that this new idea that, oh, we should all make the roads better for all of us, or we should put street lights everywhere for everybody or whatever is a huge problem for me. It's like I want to go back to the Bangalore where we didn't put so much investment in these things, but actually, like, for example, I know what my neighbor's favorite meal is and how many times a week they make it. I think that was some Bangalore that we're losing in this future or whatever Bangalore. But like I said, I don't really care. After I'm dead, you can burn the city and start from scratch. I don't care. But as long as I'm here, let the 6-7 places I go to exist. And I sort of semi-work to let them exist because that's where I economically funnel my meager resources into keeping those 6 places alive. So I'm done. Bye.